Okay, so we're going to start our crochet. We're first of all going to take our hook, and if you look at your ball band, the ball band will always tell you what size needles to buy, and that applies to the hook as well. So we've got our hook and we've got our yarn, and what we want to do first of all is to make a slip knot on our hook. Okay, I'm right-handed, so this is the way to do it with your right hand. So you grab the tail end of yarn so that it's dangling in front of your palm and pinch it with your finger and your thumb. Wrap the yarn that's coming from the ball around your fingers and pinch it again where it crosses. Then you're going to take the yarn from the ball and push it from the back to the front of the yarn that's wrapped around your finger to create a little loop. And that's where you put your hook. And you can let your fingers out, pull on the tail end, pull on the working yarn and push the knot so that it sits just underneath your hook. And if you're left-handed, you will hold the tail end of yarn in front of your left palm and pinch it with your finger and thumb, wrap it around 2 fingers, cross over, and then push the working yarn from the back to the front through the yarn that's wrapped around your fingers, pull the tail end and then pull the working yarn from the ball to make the loop smaller. Pop your hook in and then you're ready. Okay, before we start our mindful crochet, we'll need to get going with our foundation chain. So first of all, what we're going to do is you hold your hook in one hand and you'll have to hold your yarn in the opposite hand. And the way that I tend to hold my yarn is a little bit like a shadow puppet. So if you imagine you're making a little rabbit shape, so you bring your middle finger and your thumb together and you stick the index finger up in the air, and then your little finger and your ring finger are bent. So that's how I hold my yarn, okay? And then I feed my yarn. So take my hook in front of my palm, feed the yarn in between my little finger and my ring finger. Take the yarn over the back of my hand, then create my shape, my rabbit shape. So bend my little finger, ring finger, stick my middle finger and my thumb out, bring the yarn over my index finger that's sticking up in the air, and then pinch the yarn, the tail end of yarn that's beneath my crochet hook with my middle finger and my thumb, and you should be able to let go of your hook and it won't fall out, okay? So the strand of yarn that's coming in front of your index finger, this is the strand of yarn that you're going to flick your hook underneath when you start to crochet. So we're going to start by making our foundation chain so that we can then work our stitches into that chain. And if you flick your hook, if you're right-handed, from right to left, okay, underneath the strand of yarn, and then where you're holding the tail end of yarn directly underneath your hook, hold on to that quite tightly as you pull down with your crochet hook. So you pull a downwards action and you're pulling the yarn through the loop that's already on the hook, and then you create a new loop, and that's how your crochet grows. You flick your hook underneath the yarn and pull down, and move your finger, your middle finger and your thumb up so that it's always directly underneath your hook holding your work. Flick your hook underneath the yarn and pull through. Flick your hook underneath and pull through. You can already see that you're doing a repetitive action, so this is where your mindfulness can start to kick in. The only thing with your foundation chain is that you might have quite a long foundation chain to make, so you might want to take a pen and a piece of paper, and every time you've counted to 10, so you would count 1, 2, 3 and so on, and when you've got to 10 you could just make a little tally on your paper. Okay, see if you can get to 10. This would be a good mindful exercise actually, to see if you can count to 10 without thinking of anything in your mind, without those thoughts that we talked about earlier popping into your mind. So really focus on your hands, watch your hands, watch what they're doing as they make every stitch, and in your mind start your counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. And the aim is to get to 10, make a tally, take a little breather, and then you can start all over again.